Hey, what's up, y'all? So I hope everybody is doing well and things are going great in your neck of the woods, wherever you may be. What's up, Michelle? So yeah, today I will be doing some life drawings. Somebody had said it last week. I should do some live drawings. So I am going to sharpen up my pencil here. Make sure I got it going in the right way. And I think I'm gonna just try and do from what we used to do in school. Nothing fancy. I'm gonna set the timer and just practice some gestures, really. And I will share the website that I'm using. So if anybody wants to torture themselves, and just jump on that website and handle it. Hey, what's up, Eddie? How's it going, man? All right, so let me swap angles here. I got my coffee. And so, finally caught you live. You were like one of my first things. That's what's up. Glad you could make it. So I am using a website called quickposes.com, and it's set up to where you can pick different types of people or poses or whatever. Then you have your interval. Let me pull in a little bit here. Right here, your interval time. So it's 30 seconds, 45, 60, 90, all the way up to however fast 300 seconds is. I think that's a minute and a half-ish. Or 2 minutes, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. 60 seconds is a minute, minute and a half, minute some change. And it keeps going up, so you can change whatever. You can have the images show upside down or whatever, and then you just hit start and go. And then fellows, oh yeah. Been vaping for a while, stopped smoking cigarettes, so I needed something. And so like I was saying, we're gonna do this, or I'm gonna do this like I was back in school. I think I'm gonna start with the 30 seconds and do maybe 3 to 5 of those. Then I'll jump to 45 seconds. I'll probably skip the 60 seconds because 3 or 5 of the 30 and 3 or 5 of the 40 intervals, you kind of warmed up by then, and you have some thought process of what should be happening. And on this site too, which is pretty cool, I think they got some tips down here. Yeah, so like I was saying last week, right now I'm gonna just be looking for shapes, especially with these quicker ones. I'm not too concerned with getting everything down, just more shapes. So I guess without further ado, I will start this. And so we got this shape here. What I'm looking at is, so some of these may go by because I'm explaining to what I'm attempting to do, but I'm looking for that shape or that line of action and then that line of action. And so I typically would start with that and like that. Let me slide that over. That line and that line. And already you can see that's her spine, and then that's that leg. And so here I can put her head up here. I'll put what direction she's looking at. And once I'm done with these, we can pause it and I'll explain more about it before the time is up. Her face is here, her torso, her hips, and it's about to stop. So I'm gonna pause it. I guess it won't let me. Session ends and whatever that means. I want to continue. So we'll stop session. $30 seconds. And let's start over. All right. So we got that pose. Again, I'm looking just for her spine first. I'll draw the spine, her other leg here, and then I'll draw her head. And her arm. And that's all I'm concerned with. I don't want nothing else. For 30 seconds, that's all you're gonna really get out of it. So now I'm looking at her spine again. Her leg is a little foreshortened. The other leg is coming out here. Her head is tilted back. And if there's time, then I'll start messing with torsos and shapes and all that stuff. Next one. So she's kind of just standing static, if you will. So we could just put a straight line. And you can see the weight is being shifted here. Her head. We can just do a rectangle for her torso. And on to the next one. That's a kind of curvy spine. And so what I'm doing is just looking at shape and the way stuff is moving. On to the next one. And this video is kids, obviously, because there's some stuff coming through here. So if you got kids and are watching, make them go in the other room. And right now, I know these are just stick figures, but this is, believe me, this will help in the long run. Because now, when I draw stuff, it helps me like, okay, her hand is with this part of the leg, her back is arched, I can see a foot here, and this is the back of her head. And so now I'm starting to put pieces together, right? So if I draw that line, I draw a line for her legs. Now I know her hand is actually on her breast, not a little bit below or a little bit above, it's covering the breast. Her head is tilted a little bit. These are little key marks that I look at. So now if I draw her feet, I know this foot is under here. So, and the same with this. I'm looking at her hands and they're almost even with her eyes up here. So if I draw like a straight line, her head, then she's got her legs out like that. And now I know her shoulders are here. And now her fists should be somewhere along that line. So now there's no more guessing, and you just start training your eye to see stuff. So we got a kind of almost an S curve happening here. Her head is kind of tilted looking this way. Her shoulders and her hips start going one way and the hips the other way. And now I know her hand ends here and the other hand was kind of sort of down there. I'll do a few more of these 30-second ones and then I'll jump into some 45 ones here in a minute. I hope this is making sense to somebody. I don't really like this pose, but "30 seconds is a very quick amount of time to try and do something too. And so there's a lot happening here. Her head, her torso, hand, hips, knee, foot, and I'm out. So let's go to some 45-second ones. I'm gonna stop this one. And so what do we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whoa. What's up, bruh? 7, 8, 9, 10. So we did about 11. I'm gonna jump to a 45-second. Do you always do micro gesture drawings to warm up? Sometimes I do. It just depends on what I'm drawing. If I, need to warm up or something like that. I'll definitely do cool downs though. So let's start these 45 seconds. We've seen that one. All right, here's a cool one. So again, it's 45 seconds. It's a little slower, but you still don't have that much time to mess around. So she's got a lot of stuff happening in this one too. And now that there's a little more time, you can start using the side of your pencil, add some shading if you want to. She was all contorted. So we'll flip over, do another one. You can see that immediate line right there. Her head is here. Got torso happening. And then her one thigh is coming back here, which is arching up. I'm hoping these come across so you can see, trying to press a little harder so you can see what I'm doing here too. And her arms are kind of just out there. And so the sun was this way. And so there was some shadow happening here, there was some shadow here, and all that stuff. This is a weird looking one. I'll start with her head on this one. And we got her torso here, and she has her leg coming through, with her arm coming through here. And so now at her arm just a little bit away from her head. And then we got the other leg kind of coming out here. So you can see the gesture. And that's what they're called, gesture drawings, because you're just doing the gesture of what the person is doing here. She got a little bit of an S curve, her head, torso, hips. The weight is on this leg, so it's almost straight, little curve in it. And then this one is to help balance. Her arm is up and across. On to the next one. And again, these ones are pretty easy because they're just that curve like that. Her face. Torso. And when I'm drawing a torso, I'm looking at like her ribs and where her breasts come out to a point right here. Her waist, her hips kind of right here. And then her legs out down here with her feet coming back under her butt. Arms. On to the next one. And now I can feel myself, I'm starting to get warmed up a little bit. So I know at some point I'll just go into like a minute or something like that, or maybe a little longer. And right now I'm kind of just scribbling to dull the tip of my pencil. And I'll let this one just kind of run out. So Chianti. All right, so line of action, pretty simple. Her head, torso, hips, legs. Her hand is on that hip. This hand is tilting the hat. And so light is coming that way, so shadow is over here. And we're out to the next one. All right, this will be the last one, and then I'll bump the time up to like a minute and a half or something. So you got a slight curve happening. Again, the weight is here. And there's that slight S curve. Head, her shoulders are tilted, so it makes her hips tilt the other way to balance herself. And then the hips are tilted like that. We got a little leg coming out there. She had her arm like that. Again, I'm just looking at the gesture, like how the body and the spine and all that is twisted, and that's what a gesture is. Like, whoop, whoop. Her hands and arms are down here, legs and feet. She's got to wash her feet. So I will stop this session, close, and let's do 120. So now that'll give me some time to really study the picture first and then go in. With the 30 and 45, you kind of just got to get in there, get your muscle movement going, and just put down what you see. The information you see on that screen, get it out as quick as possible. With the minute and a half, and as you get higher, you could take 10, 15 seconds and study the picture and then put down what you see. Yeah, I seen your email, and I looked for you in one of the emails. Your Instagram name was different than what was in the email or something. I guess that's why I couldn't find you, but I will definitely follow you on Instagram. And so we're at 120. It was like in school, we would do 5 to 10, 30 seconds, take a break, everyone walk around, shake it off, come back in and do 45 seconds, 5 to 10 of those, and then we would jump into the higher ones and just take a break. So I'm kind of just taking a quick little break right now. And just getting ready to look at figures even longer. I know before COVID hit, there was a place here in Atlanta called, I can't remember the name of it. If I do and I just blurt it out, then so be it. But I think you would pay like $5 for an evening of life drawing, and it was from like 6 to 8 or something like that, and you would just sit in there, and they, you know, with the money that we were paying to do this, I guess they would pay the model to come in and model, and it was really good. It was held by Brian Stelfreeze. If you don't know who that is, look him up because he's amazing. And what's cool is that he would come around and, you know, kind of just give people pointers and tips like that. So it wasn't like one, you were just out there trying to figure it out. He would come and give you tips and stuff like that. And it was a very intimate setting. I'm saying all this to hopefully there's something like that once everyone gets vaccinated and all that stuff. You know, if you find something like that in your city, your area, town, whatever, I would encourage you to go to those, especially if it's being facilitated by somebody that's credible. I would definitely look into doing that. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get back into this. All right, I got my pencil ready. I feel loose. We are starting on the 120 session. And let's go. Start. All right, cool. So right now I'm looking at the picture and I see light on this side and shadow on that side. She's got a little bit of an S curve. And she's kind of looking down a little bit. And this is when you start noticing how the neck and back and shoulders and all that start acting. And then she has a little bit of pouch here. Her hips kind of connect here. Oh, and so another thing is that you can just pick certain areas. Like, you don't have to draw the whole body all the time. And so because I like torsos, I focus on just torsos and maybe some hip area. And her hand is out there. And so now you can see I'm starting to actually put a chin, right? Kind of like boxing off her head or shaping it a little bit. Her neck and stuff is here. The shoulder is there. And then I can add a little bit of shadow back here. I can add some shadow on her arm. Her eye, nose. And you can see these will start becoming more detailed, if you will, than what I've been doing with just stick figures. And again, so I'm looking at it a little bit. I really don't like this pose. There's too much happening that I don't want to do. And that's okay too, right? So with it, you're doing it online, you can either skip through this or just wait till the time goes or whatever. Now, when you're taking classes, you have to draw what the subject up there is doing. But I'll just talk through this one. If I was to do this one, I would do the line, her head, and then I'd probably just do like these arms. But it's just too much happening right there, and I just don't like the pose. It's weird looking. But I'll sketch out a little bit, right? So here, I'm using the back side of her spine, but her head, you can see it comes over here a little bit more. So her neck is somewhere in there. And so now I'm looking at her elbow and where does it come across? So it comes across down here. So now I know I need to pull her elbow down just a little bit more to make it like the image that I'm looking at. Her breasts come down just a bit more. And that's where you just start figuring out stuff when you're drawing it. So I'm gonna flip this over. This is kind of bland. I'm gonna skip this one. I don't like that one. That's cool. She got some clothes on. Let's do this one. And so this one, I wouldn't say is any easier, but now we just got shapes. So we really don't have to concern ourselves with muscle structure and stuff like that. So we got her head. And so now what I'm looking and then I'll just start boxing in stuff, right? We see her hips right here. And then the skirt. Her hair kind of comes over a lot of this stuff. We don't really have to concern ourselves with the hair and the detail at this point. Got some wrinkles. And we can draw in some hair, you know, just kind of darken it in so we can kind of have some sort of reference what we want to accomplish here. She got her hand here. I'm not too concerned with that. I really can't even see what's happening with this one, so I'm gonna skip that one. That's a cool one. She's got a skull and some stuff happening. So she has a slight S curve right here. So I'll do that. I'll put her head up here. I'm looking at her neck. Her shoulders tip a little bit. And so we know she's got another skull here that she's holding. And so now I'm just, again, looking at gestures and figuring out where all this stuff connects. At the same time, I'm using reference points. Arm goes up there. Her neck. And she has this thing on. I don't know what this is, but again, it looks like the light is coming from that way, so you can add shadow. And you can just see the gesture starting to happen now. I'm gonna still mess with this one because I liked it. I don't think you can go back. And so I'm gonna stop this session, close it, and then now I'll go right up to 300 seconds or whatever, however many minutes that is, right? And so I want to pause for a second and let's look at some things here. Hold on for a minute. So, trying to get some stuff together here. Hold on for a minute. Bro, I've been following you on IG for the longest and never knew you were a fellow vet. Thank you for your service, man. Oh, that's what's up, man. Big Nate. And for yours too, man. So, if we look at these first ones, I mean, they're very crude, if you will. Stick figures. Again, we're just looking for the gestures of them. And then as the time, so those were like 30 and 45 seconds. And then once we bumped it up, you can see like now there's some forms starting to happen, some shadows. more defined than the stick figures, right? And so I bumped it up to 300 seconds, which is, we got a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. So 3 minutes, I think, is 300 seconds, something like that. And so with that, you'll be able to see even more detail, obviously, right? And that's the whole point of practicing gesture drawing or life drawing, whatever you want to call it. It's just you doing it over and over and over, and then getting your muscle memory to think, okay, if her hand is touching her head, now you're looking at my elbow is to my face. So I'm looking at that stuff. I'm looking at how far the wrist is from the head. I'm looking at how far my beard is to my collar. So I'm looking at all that stuff. I'm looking at the lighting, which way it's coming from. But with 30 seconds, you don't yes, you're looking at that, but you have to tell your brain, I'm not going to draw that. I don't have enough time, but you just train your brain to teach your hand to say, we got 30 seconds, do the gesture. So you do the little line and you do the head. Maybe put a line for the eyes, which way they're looking. And if there's any little bit of time left, then you can start adding some meat to the skeleton you just drew. 45 seconds. Now you got a little bit more time. You still kind of focus on line work, gesture, and out. Once you hit 60 and up, you got some time to look at it. We typically were taught 10 seconds to study the picture now, and then go in and start working again. But yeah, with 3 minutes, we should be able to get some really good light source and a little bit of muscle, I can't talk tonight. A little bit of muscle structure happening, and just some solid framework, if you will. Because again, 2 minutes or 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you still are just not going to have, that's not time to do a drawing or a painting or whatever. Again, this is just to train yourself to look at different checkpoints, if you will. But yeah, man, I was infantry. I drove, well, first I was infantry. I was in the back of this thing. Then I drove, shot, and then became a commander. My whole military career was Bradley infantry. And right now I'm kind of just taking a break. Like I was saying before, you do these, you take a break, you come back, you take another break, and you just keep going. But I think I've taken enough breaks, so I will get into these. You know what? I think I'm gonna do 2.5 minutes. Let's see what that looks like. And I'll probably only do like 2, maybe 3 of these. And so before I start, I'm gonna switch cameras here. But for these, I'm holding my pencil kind of like this. When you typically draw like this, or I've always preached, hold your pencil back like here. when you're starting off and doing things so you don't press really hard. But with gestures, we were taught to hold the pencil like this, and you're using the side of the lead more versus like actual drawing like that. You're using the side of it, right? And this paper is kind of short this way, so I am going to turn some stuff around. Hopefully you guys can still see what I'm doing here. So when I start this, I think what I want to do, I'm gonna find a pose that somebody is standing and has some movement. Again, because it's a computer, I could just do what I want to do. If I was in school or class or the other place I was saying, I'd have to draw what was up there. One, because I'm paying for it, so I'm gonna draw everything that's up there. But here, I'm gonna turn the paper a little bit different and look for something that interests me to draw it. I'm gonna only focus on the torso, maybe the hip. And I'm gonna stop talking and start drawing. Let's skip that one. That's a pretty cool one. There's not enough happening. That one again. All right, that's a cool one. So, cause we got a lot of light source that way, shadow this way. Her body is doing a good S-curve, so I studied it long enough, and cause I'm warmed up, I kind of can see what I want to do. So I'm going to start with the center line. Put her head up here. And so now I'm looking at her neck. I'm looking at her collarbone. I'm looking at a bunch of stuff, right? I'm looking at how long this is compared to how that is because she is tilted a little bit. I'm looking at her hips. I'm looking at creases that her body is making. So I know there's a little gap here. I know the hip bone is coming out here. Her weight is on this leg. Her shoulders, the shadows that her shoulder is making, all type of stuff is what I'm looking at. And again, because we're still gesture drawing, I can look at her neck and her head and all that stuff and make correction very easy versus, if you go in kind of hard, you can't make that correction like you need to. And so now I know her chin is here. Now I'm looking at where her neck, so there's a little chin showing. I know her neck comes down like that. She's got a shadow right there. And there's a triangle. So I'm looking at shapes. There's a triangle right here. And I think, because my time is up with this one, I probably wasted too much time on this one. Her belly button. And now I'm trying to hurry up just a bit to get most of this down. She's got some shadows and stuff happening here. And the shadows coming up like that. So we'll hold on to that one. I'll skip this one because I missed that other one. Let me throw some music on first. All right, so let's skip this one, skip that one. All right, this is another cool one. I'm studying it for a hot 10 seconds, and now we have the typical curve, her neck, her head is back that way. So from the last one, I need to speed up a little. See, right? So now we got our neck, shoulder, arm stuff, her rib is coming out. Her lower back to her butt. And so, like I said, I'm just kind of focused on her torso. I'm looking at the elbow, so it comes right here where that lower part of her back is, and then her arm jets out just a little bit. And so right now I'm like almost halfway in the time. And so I'm pretty pleased at kind of what's happening here. I can put this one breast in. Her ribs are here. And now I can kind of go in just a little darker, right? Now I'm looking at the shape of the shadows. They come down like that. And then we got some shadows here because the light is coming from this way. Got a little bit of shadow happening here. Again, this is her head kind of tilted back. Her nose. Again, we're not too concerned with detail at this point. We're still practicing. Still trying to make sure we got the shape of what we are trying to do. And I'm out with that one. This is actually a pretty decent one to do too, but let's see. We'll wait for the next one. So we typically also have sandpaper, right, to help with the tips and all that stuff. So I don't think I got any sandpaper readily available. I know I got some somewhere, but I'm kind of just scribbling right now to dull down the tip a little bit. And as you do these, you'll kind of figure out what works best for you. And then if you want, you can always, get the ones you've been working on and kind of just, fill them in even more, add a darker shadow. Try and find that one piece that you did and look at it and study it some more, because I kind of like this pose. Yeah, that was a really cool pose. All right, so my pencil's ready again. I'm gonna skip this one. I don't like that one. I think for these, like, you get what you pay for kind of thing. That's a cool one, but it's not straight up, so that's a cool one. It looks simple, but it's far from simple, right? So I'm looking at it a little bit. Shadows, light source, and I'm off and running. Her back has just a little slight curve in it. Her shoulders are definitely tipped a little bit. And I like it because of her neck. There's a really cool neck shot. And then her head is here. So now we can go in, start putting her neck and her shoulders and deltoids and all that stuff up here, right? And this is a cool shape right here. And she's got side of the rib here. And so now I'm looking at just different things to connect with what I'm looking at, right? I want this shoulder to connect back in here. So now I'm looking at, okay, her underarm is kind of right on top of that deltoid muscle, but then her arm still is foreshortened is another thing. And you can see her spine making that shape, that slight S curve. I love the overlap right there. If we take some shadow and throw it in there, and then that's what starts forming it, the shadow and the light, you know. We can see her face right here, her front of her face starts right here. So now there's no guessing on where things need to go. We know where it is. We're looking at it. There's no need to guess. Her hands are up here. That was a really good one. That's a good one too. Like I said, it may have looked simple, but to me it was anything but simple. Because to get it to look like what it's supposed to look like, I mean, that's the trick, right? And again, as I keep going through these, you can see how much more detailed they are, how much thought is put into it even further, and what I'm looking at. Let's skip this one. We did something like that already. I don't like that one. That's a cool one. Let's run it. Again, it looks simple because it's straightforward, but The gesture of her arms and all that is really cool. So I'll start with her head down here because I want that arm for me to have some space up there. Right, and she's looking up. I can see some of her neck, and I'm looking at this line under her arm right there, which is coming out right about here. And the other underarm is kind of like that. And now we got her rib cage coming up, so I'm kind of just sketching this out. I know y'all can barely see that, but once I start actually putting some shadow and stuff under there, you'll see what's happening. I know her elbow goes to the top of her head here, so I can have an imaginary line up there. Bring that here like that. And that arm is resting on top of her head. And that hand is, so this arm comes in just a bit from the shoulder here. We got some hair and shadow stuff happening, her elbow. And then that arm comes up like that. And now you can start seeing, as I draw a little darker, you can see what's happening now. Got this shadow under here. This is making a shadow because it looks to be several light sources happening right here. So the shadow is actually center, but this one is over here. Then it comes down kind of in the middle, and we're out to the next one. But I'm gonna still mess with this one here. Her hands were coming out like that, and they were doing something. Her ribs were kind of showing a lot. Yeah, that was just a cool gesture. Scribble a little more. I'll do one more. Y'all watching, if y'all got any questions, just hit me up, man. Let me know. I got my coffee going on my little warmer over there. Life is good right now. I'm scribbling on my paper, get my pencil back down where I want it. Let's do another one. Skip. That's actually pretty cool. Skip. Here we go. Let's do that one. Because there's some shape. Again, I'm looking at her spine, right? That's my line of action, my gesture line, whatever you want to call it. So I know there's something happening. Her head, she's looking kind of down out that way, so I can actually start with her head and spine. Boom, right? Now I'm looking at how far her chin is out from her neck. It's not that far. And so now I'm going to put her neck up here, attach it to her head. And I'm probably wasting too much time with this, but so we got her nose, neck. Now her shoulder comes up just a little bit, but then it falls back down. And you know, you start looking at muscle structures and stuff also, and looking at how much space. So that shoulder makes some type of what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like a teardrop, if you will. And she's got that happening. And then her hip comes out pretty hard. But we still got her spine happening, right? So now I'm looking at how much space is between here and on this side, how far the shoulder comes over here. And now I'm rounding that off. Her hip is here. And it's overlapping, right? So her front side of her shoulder comes out on that side. I'm making a teardrop again. I know her elbow is just slightly higher than her head. And again, these are just gestures. There's nothing written in stone. I'm just looking at what I see and putting it on paper. The information I'm given. And let's just say the light source was coming from this direction. So we could put shadow here and all on this side, right? Because we know there's not too much going to be over there. We can put some up here. And again, this is me just doing it now because I don't have the actual reference in front of me. I'm just making my own shadow. But at the same time, when I make my own shadow, I want to follow the rules, if you will. So if I know this shoulder is curved like this, the shadow has to curve. If I know this arm is round, I know that needs to curve a little bit, right? Her forearm is up there, same up here. This has to, everything has rules. You got to know the rules before you can break them. And then I can go in and, you know, start tightening up some of these lines if I wanted to. And because I like comics, you know, I'm gonna do some different line weights and all that stuff with it. muscles kind of flow with each other. And again, the same with this. So I got my red pen. If we look at her shoulders and her hips, her shoulders are tilted, right? If they're tilted that hard, your hips, there's no other way she would fall over if her hips didn't tilt the opposite direction. So that's your body adjusting for balance. So tilt equals balance. And because this hip is up and this one is down, weight is being shifted, right? I can't remember exactly what she was doing, but the weight is here on this foot, on this leg, because it's tipped this way. There's no way for the weight to be on that side. So yeah, life drawing, gesture drawing. We'll stop the session, close, and that's it, y'all. This was actually pretty cool. I'll definitely sprinkle these in every few weeks or something. My fingers are really warm now, and you know, it's either warm up or cool down. And practice, that's all it is. It's practice, practice, practice. I get so many questions about what type of pencil do you use, and you know, what size lead is that, and it doesn't matter, man. Use this pencil, use a number 2 regular school pencil, anything. Just practice. That's the only way to get better at it. So I will, on the comments or in the description of this video, I'll put the link to this website that I'm using. It's called quickpose.com, and it allows you to set up, you know, like I said, 30-second, 45, all the way up to 2 or 3 minutes of practice. And that's all, you know, most artists do, is just go to these sites or go to a class and practice drawing a figure, if that's what you're into. Again, this was a good session, so thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight, and we will have to do this again really soon as far as gestures, but I'm not sure if I'll be next week. A friend of mine is supposed to tattoo me. She was supposed to tattoo me today, but I didn't want to get tattooed. She didn't feel like tattooing, so we'll I think we're going to do it for next week, so I will let you all know if or when, you know, I'll do it. But yeah, thanks for the support as always. Appreciate y'all for hanging out, and I'll see y'all next week. What'd you say, Michelle? I had never seen this episode. Cool, yeah. I mean, it's a fun way to practice, fun way to keep your skills honed, and to really start putting stuff together and make it look proportional. People always ask, how do you get proportions right? This is the way to get the proportions right. you know, again, you're looking for checkpoints, if you will, to make things work. Like I was doing with the hand and the wrist and all this stuff, you know, that's how you get proportions, you know. If you got your hand on your head, you can see that, you know, it's half of that, right? So I got my fingers up top, my bottom of my hand right here comes here to my nose, but then there's still the rest of this. So you already know you got a proportion of here, and you got a proportion of the head, and then you just start wrapping stuff up. So, but yeah, I don't want to